News at 10. A lot of people had to put their day after Christmas plans on ice, but no break for Public Works. Plus, the state of primary politicking as candidates work to gain voters in upcoming elections.
And still more freezing rain tonight, but a narrower slot for that. Conditions improving tomorrow.
First News at 10 starts right now.
North Dakota is not alone in its weather challenges tonight.
Much of the central U.S. is dealing with treacherous travel conditions as a winter storm pummels the plains. Multiple states had to shut down parts of major interstates due to the dangerous conditions. Jen Sullivan is tracking the impacts of this storm.
A powerful winter storm is sweeping across the north-central U.S., bringing blizzard conditions and freezing rain.
The winds are going to pick up. The snow will reduce visibilities for several hours.
Multiple states are in the path of this storm. Parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, Kansas, Colorado, and Wyoming are under blizzard warnings. Some areas could get up to a foot of snow between Monday and Tuesday. In Nebraska, the wicked weather causing multiple semis to jackknife on Interstate 80 Monday. The conditions were so bad that State Patrol shut down roughly 70 miles of the interstate and responded to nearly 150 weather-related incidents. In South Dakota, heavy snow and winds causing poor visibility and slippery roads. I-90 was closed in both directions for more than 200 miles. And in North Dakota, the Department of Transportation had to close portions of I-94, warning drivers to stay off the roads.
It's not recommended to travel throughout that part of the country.
As the system shifts east, there's a threat for potential flooding across portions of the mid-Atlantic. Meanwhile, major metro areas like New York City and Boston dealing with dense fog. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Well, I went home for dinner this evening, Kevin, and I got stuck in the ice about a block from my house. It was slippery.
Yeah, very slippery, Alan. In fact, it's the side streets, it's the sidewalks, it's driveways, still treacherous tonight, but conditions improve tomorrow. We just need some sunshine. That's what's really going to help here. But again, earlier today, so many videos coming in to skyspyphotos.com. This kid having a good time on the sidewalk, trying the hockey, and again, sledding down the middle of the road here. I tell you what, kind of dangerous? Yeah, steep hill there to me. But anyway, it looks like conditions will be improving over time here. And in fact, SkyTracker Doppler radar, we see that band of precipitation moving again toward the southwest, but the line itself is shifting farther toward the south. That means I think we are done with accumulating freezing rain in the Bismarck-Mandan area. Sioux County, Emmons County, towards Stutzman County, Jamestown. Look out because you're not done yet. In fact, more coatings of ice expected tonight. It's a high probability from southern North Dakota all the way back to the northeast toward Jamestown and Grand Forks. So additional ice accumulations will be generally under 1/10 of an inch, mostly south and east of Bismarck. I-29 now closed from Grand Forks to the Canadian border. Here we go again. 94 still open, but again, no travel advised.
Bismarck police tell us as of an hour ago, they have responded to 103 crash reports, but there are still many more pending. They say they haven't been able to respond to property damage reports yet. Bismarck street crews have been working since midnight combating icy road conditions. They always have an overnight crew during the winter, but they called in additional people to get the job done more efficiently. Bella Craft tells us how they're going about it.
This is Amos Colball earlier this morning, getting around downtown in an unusual way.
Oh man, I live downtown. How cool would it be to just like go ice skating downtown if it's possible? So I just ran upstairs, went and got my skates, and just did a hot lap. And luckily some kid caught me out in the wild.
Public Works is trying to unfreeze these icy roads with brine and sand, so people like Amos don't have to lace up their skates to get around.
Brr.
8 sanders that gotta cover 1,300 miles. That's a lot of miles to cover.
This is just a small fraction of the salt used to make the brine that breaks up the ice. 10,000 gallons of it have already been used on the roads. Crews ran out, so they are mixing up more. In hilly neighborhoods, workers are having to back their way up the slopes so they don't slide down and hit things like road signs. Schermeister says plenty of those have already been damaged.
Up off of Calgary and 10th Street, the guys had just put it back up and they drove away and somebody hit it again.
Even with a near record-setting snowfall last winter and around-the-clock work, Bismarck snow crews say they'd rather take that over ice storms.
Snow usually packs a little bit and you can get a little bit of traction on it, but ice, it's just like ice skating rink.
It's pretty good.
Amos says this makeshift ice rink adds to the holiday season.
This is like just an excuse to have fun or to play.
Depends, of course, on your definition of fun. In Bismarck, I'm Bella Kraft, reporting for your news leader.
The city suspended garbage services today and closed a landfill and library because of travel conditions.
Well, winter got off to a slow start this year, and outdoor ice rinks have been dry, but today it really didn't matter, as people made do with those ice-covered roads, as we just saw. The Powers and Getz kids are neighbors, their cousins, and they play hockey, and they were quick to lace up their skates. The kids say it was a little bumpy, but it was great.
Oh, it's great. They're building memories they'll have forever, and I think this is the benefit of living next door to each other, is we can build family memories every day, no matter the situation.
Those hockey players weren't alone. We received numerous photos of people of all ages skating in the street.
For ranchers, winter weather can mean more stress on livestock. The ice is worse for cattle than snow. Whenever
you get them wet, it increases that body energy intake that they need. So guys are going to have to potentially bring in a little bit more hay and for those cows to make sure it's satisfying those needs. Because if you've been cold and wet, it's way worse than just snow and wet.
He says the freezing rain can cause pneumonia and respiratory issues. Snow can actually provide a level of insulation on their coats.
North Dakota House Majority Leader Mike LaFleur called for the resignation of Representative Nico Rios over the weekend, following comments Rios made during a recent DUI arrest. Williston police say the comments were homophobic, racially abusive, and discriminatory. They say Rios also attempted to use his position as a lawmaker to intimidate officers and avoid an arrest. Majority Leader LaFleur said in a statement, "There's no room in the legislature or our party for this behavior. I understand people make mistakes, but his comments in defiance to law enforcement are beyond the pale. In addition, any lawmaker attempting to use his or her elected position to threaten anyone or skirt the law is completely unacceptable." You can view the full North Dakota Republican response on our website.
With less than 3 weeks to go until the Iowa caucuses, political candidates are in their final push. Aaron Gilchrist has more.
With less than 3 weeks to go before the official start of the 2024 primary season, Republican presidential candidates are in their final push ahead of the Iowa caucuses. But the prospect of catching up to former President Trump is increasingly appearing out of reach for the candidates, as he maintains a more than 30-point lead in the Hawkeye state in a recent poll.
We can put this to bed after Iowa, if you want to know the truth. We can put it to bed for them, too. They can go home and forget it.
Trump campaigning in Iowa far less than some other candidates. According to an NBC News tally, he's visited 14 of Iowa's 99 counties, DeSantis and Ramaswamy visiting all 99, and Haley visiting 23. And with Haley and DeSantis battling it out for second place in the latest polls, both are sharpening their attacks against each other.
She really represents more of the old establishment type of thinking. You know, she's getting support from a lot of liberal Democrat donors in Silicon Valley, Wall Street bank CEOs rallying liberal Democrats.
Ron DeSantis drafted and led the charge to ban the renewable fuel standard that matters so much here in Iowa. He banned fracking. He banned offshore drilling.
But it comes as Nikki Haley is surging in New Hampshire, with one recent poll putting her within 14 points of the former president. Meanwhile, Trump's fight rages on in the courts, 4 criminal cases, all potentially going to trial in 2024. His lawyers over the weekend asking the D.C. Appeals Court to toss out his case on grounds of presidential immunity, posting on Truth Social his efforts to overturn President Biden's win in 2020 were part of his, quote, duty as president.
In Texas, hundreds of migrants from the Eagle Pass area are being transported daily to other towns along the U.S. southern border. Tens of thousands of immigrants have arrived at Eagle Pass, Texas in the past few weeks, but centers that help the migrants are full. Catholic Charities says it's been receiving between 300 and 500 migrants a day for the past week. One representative says the number of migrants entering at the U.S. border has long surpassed a breaking point, with no sign of slowing down. Coming up, AI may be useful and even amazing, but some say it's also destroying trust in what we see and hear.
on KFYR TV.
Artificial intelligence has made our daily lives easier in many ways and shows promise in areas like medicine and education, but it also comes with questions and concerns, some of them raised by the very people who helped to create AI. NBC's Jake Ward has more.
Artificial intelligence
could soon transform Hollywood.
And the harm this software can cause.
2023 was when AI went from nerdy jargon to a daily part of politics, entertainment,
ChatGPT, dude.
even schoolwork.
How many of you use the AI like ChatGPT or Bard in this discussion?
It has come at us very fast. ChatGPT from industry leader OpenAI now has 100 million weekly users just since its launch last year, with 92% of Fortune 500 companies using the technology, according to the company. But beyond ChatGPT, the stuff AI did this year is amazing. It caught a glimpse of our thoughts.
So as long as I have seen it and you know the patterns of my brain, then the AI will read that out of my brain.
Yes, exactly.
Spotted mental health risks in children.
An output will say this is a patient at high risk, this is a patient at low risk.
And created tons and tons of weird art.
The godlike power to commission any artist in history.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
But as 2024 approaches, AI's ability to trick anyone's eyes could be the end of trust.
Deepfake, face swap, unbelievably easy to do.
Right. In just the time it took us to set up our cameras, UC Berkeley professor Hani Farid made me look like I had starred in Doctor Strange.
This is
On my laptop.
on your laptop in half an hour.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Wow.
But that same tech in our politics can be dangerous. The Republican National Committee already aired one AI-generated ad full of fake imagery.
closed the city of San Francisco this morning.
Go to Slovakia right now where the Russians are trying to interfere with the elections. Go to the Sudan where we're seeing fake audio trying to stow civil unrest.
Still, David Holtz, founder of AI art company Midjourney, said earlier this year that the risk of misuse is not worth giving up on AI.
It's better just to trust people that they're going to use things in good ways. You're always going to get some edge case. That's just what having an effect on the world is like.
AI investors like former Google CEO Eric Schmidt say companies should more or less regulate themselves.
There's no one in the government who can get it right, but the industry can roughly get it right, and then the government can put a regulatory structure around it.
That argument has mostly won out. Europe and China have both moved forward on broad AI regulations this year, but as 2023 winds down, the U.S. remains the Wild West for AI. A world-changing technology moving so fast and with little sign of slowing down. Jake Ward, NBC News.
Snow would be a lot better than this, and we don't have a lot of that on the way, but a better looking longer-term forecast coming up next.
On a personal note, we're wondering if we can get home.
I think so. I think we're going to be okay. Just allow extra time. Don't travel tonight unless you absolutely have to. Wait till tomorrow. More sunshine farther west, moving toward the east here, but still an ice storm warning holds on. Darker blue counties here from northeast North Dakota through south central North Dakota, northern South Dakota. This goes for the next several hours. And in fact, this has been expanded south and east of Bismarck through tomorrow morning because that band of ice continues here, moving in from Minnesota toward east central portions of North Dakota, down here toward the southwest into western South Dakota. So it's this band right here. It's beginning to weaken, but still, we've got that precipitation coming down. We're in the clear, so to speak, in Bismarck-Mandan. No more accumulating freezing rain is expected, but I think we have several more hours worth of snow or freezing rain around Jamestown toward Emmons County, Sioux County as well, into northern South Dakota. So conditions will not be all that great here for tonight along and south of I-94, but just south and just east of Bismarck-Mandan. So no travel advised, centered on the Bismarck-Mandan area, all the way toward Ellendale. Again, even at Jamestown, conditions are probably going to get worse before they get better. Many, many Sky Spy photos received at skyspyphotos.com. Trying to go through these quickly here, but it really just tells the weather story Christmas Day and the day after today. A lot of ice and a lot of problems. Many areas with just a devastating ice storm. Nearly an inch of accumulating ice over parts of southeast North Dakota and around 2/10 of an inch for the Bismarck-Mandan area, maybe upwards of a quarter of an inch, even a half of an inch south of Mandan. And again, roads have been treacherous for today, but slowly improving into the night and into tomorrow. So that is some good news. Again, the roads have been closed. And again, speaking of that, I-29 is now closed from Fargo to Grand Forks, both directions, and then from Canada to Grand Forks southbound. So again, problems going on here in eastern North Dakota. No word on whether I-94 is closed anywhere. As of right now, it is not, but that is subject to change again because we got more of that precip between Bismarck, Jamestown, and Fargo. Winds are around 10 to 15 miles per hour. Let's go through this hour by hour. We're clearing out Montana, western North Dakota. Here's a midnight snapshot with temps much colder and drier farther toward the northwest here, 18 in Williston, but Bismarck at 29 degrees, so upper 20s and low 30s here for southern portions of North Dakota, but that precip shield continuing to dive into South Dakota. So by tomorrow morning, the morning commute, not going to be pretty, but it won't be like it was, or at least as bad as it was here for this morning over southern North Dakota. But again, a lot of those secondary roads, sidewalks, driveways, that's going to be a real mess here through the day tomorrow. But we'll begin to see more sunshine going a little bit farther toward the east here, remaining cloudy, especially around Bismarck-Mandan toward the east. More sunshine farther west. We'll have to wait until Thursday before we see even more sun. But as the afternoon wears on, conditions will be improving. And then we're back to the good old-fashioned boring weather pattern as we get into early January. I think that'll be just fine here. Above normal temperatures favored with no major storms on the way. So this has been kind of an oddity anyway, given how mild and tranquil December has been, with the exception of this system. We're going back into that same kind of pattern. May not last as long. Looks more active by the end of next week, but it looks pretty good here through the last weekend of the year.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Up next in sports, LT runs down the Class A and B basketball polls, and we'll look at the gift high school wrestlers received today.
With your first News at 10 Sports, here's Lee Timmerman.
I don't know about you, but I'm still trying to get used to this new three-class basketball system. We have Bowman County, Langdon and Munich, Kindred, and Thompson all ranked number 1 in the state this week. The Bulldogs lead the voting in B boys. The first 4 are getting first place votes, and the first 7 are the same as last week. There is a 3-way tie for the number 9 spot. Half as many are getting first place votes in Class B girls. Central McLean is up to 4th, just ahead of Bowman County. EKM, Trenton, TGU, and our Redeemers are in the back half of the top 10. There's a new number 1 in Class A. This is on the boys' side. 4 Winds beat Devils Lake. Beulah is in the top 5, and every one of those teams is getting first place consideration. And it's just the opposite in Class A girls. The Tommies are unanimous. Bottineau and South Prairie Max are 2nd and 3rd. You may have heard the saying, it's worth its weight in gold. Well, high school wrestlers received about $50,000 worth of leeway when it comes to time to step on the scale. JT Faribault tells us about the gift they received today.
In the midst of the holiday season, there's a certain holiday gift on the minds of wrestlers that won't be found underneath the Christmas tree.
But that 2-pound allowance sure means a lot. Sure means a lot to a lot of kids.
It's a nice gift, yeah.
That's probably the best Christmas gift a lot of the guys on the team are getting.
What is the 2-pound allowance, you might ask?
2-pound allowance all starts out with right after Christmas, the 25th, tomorrow, the 26th, the next morning. The state allows you an extra 2 pounds to weigh in. So if the weight class was 107 pounds, now you get to weigh 109 pounds. So you get a 2-pound allowance for the rest of the year. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal for a lot of kids.
Though it's only 2 pounds, some wrestlers would say it's still a massive weight off their shoulders.
We've been making scratch weight all year, and 2 pounds doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but when you're really struggling to make weight, that extra 2 pounds is a big deal. So
It takes a little stress off us, and we don't really have to worry about cutting as much weight and just having fun, enjoying the sport a little bit more.
Not only do the kids benefit, but the coaches too.
There's some of the weight classes that we're struggling to fill right now are weight classes that now that we get to 2 pounds, I think it's going to be a lot easier having a conversation with kids about weight. It's still going to be a challenge for some kids to get to those weights, but the extra 2 pounds is definitely a good Christmas gift.
So, if you're worried about eating too much this Christmas, just loosen your belt a notch and give yourself a 2-pound allowance as well. Wishing everyone a happy holiday season. I'm JT Faribault, reporting for your news leader.
Well, a couple of big regular season wrestling tournaments are this week and next. The Rumble on the Red, followed by the Rotary in Bismarck in January.
I think I got enough weight for the whole team. Huh? Well, still to come, can you really say finders keepers when you find a diamond with your girlfriend? When you take your girlfriend to Crater of Diamonds State Park in Arkansas, you'd better not come away empty-handed. Last spring, Jerry Evans and his girlfriend were walking around when he found a jelly bean-sized object that he initially thought was a piece of glass. He put it in his pocket and didn't really think it was a diamond, but he decided to check out his find with a specialist, and yes, the object he stumbled across was a nearly 5-carat diamond.
It just makes you wonder, now does he sell it? Does he have somebody cut it?
We want to know. We got to get an updated story on this. All right, radar, we do see that trend of precip ending, but still, it's going to be a rough night tonight. Far southern and the eastern half of North Dakota.
Stay safe, everybody.